All right, good afternoon. A couple of programming notes for you. First of all, tomorrow, my guest will be Tom Fletcher, our emergency relief coordinator. He will be here to brief you on the humanitarian situation in the Middle East. Before that, and this afternoon at 3 p.m., there will be a briefing in the Security Council on energy, critical minerals, and security. Rosemary DiCarlo, our Undersecretary General for Political and Peacebuilding Affairs, will be briefing that meeting. Couple of senior appointments to share with you. First, the Secretary General appointed today James Swan of the United States as his new special representative in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. He will be, of course, leading the UN peacekeeping mission there known as MONUSCO. Mr. Swan succeeds Bintou Keita of Guinea, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for her important contributions and service to the peacekeeping mission. Mr. Swan is an experienced diplomat with a long career in African countries facing complex political and security transitions. Most recently, he served, and that's since March of last year, served as the special representative and head of the UN mission in Somalia. He had previously held that role in an acting capacity, and he's also been the head of the UN mission, the mission in Somalia under a different name, UNSOM. There we go. Most importantly, he's had a 32-year career in the U.S. government with multiple assignments related to the DRC and other places. We congratulate him. Today, the Secretary General is also appointing Major General Junhui of China as the new force commander of the UN mission in South Sudan. Major General Wu succeeds Lieutenant General Subramanian, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for his effective leadership as force commander. Major General Wu brings to this position 40 years of leadership and operational experience in the People's Liberation Army and in UN peacekeeping. Most recently, he was the military attaché of the Chinese embassy in Germany. Amid the expanding problems throughout the Middle East, it's also for us important not to lose sight of the situation in Gaza, which continues to face challenges, including some related to the regional escalation, such as the closure of some of the crossing points. As we informed you this week, our team have been able to bring in fuel and other critical items into Gaza since Tuesday, when the Israeli authorities reopened the Karim Shalom crossing. Today, we were able to bring into Gaza some 570,000 liters of diesel fuel through Karim Shalom, Karim Abu Salam. Our partners were also able to collect critical supplies from the crossing. Other crossing points are still closed, including Rafah, which impacts our ability to bring in much more needed assistance, and also impacts our ability to have our international staff rotate in and out of Gaza. Our humanitarian colleagues once again reiterate that safe, sustained, and unimpeded access is vital for our operations and all our humanitarian partners to carry out their life-saving work. More crossings must be open for the movement of cargo and people. In addition, the entry of items critical for timely and effective response must be facilitated. Meanwhile, our partners are doing everything in their power to ensure that people's needs are met. Over the past week, organizations leading on mine action conducted nearly 70 explosive hazard assessments in support of debris management. That was across the Gaza Strip. Living conditions remain dire. In a recent assessment by those who manage displacement sites, findings show that only 11% of nearly 1,000 sites have communal lighting. Open sewage was observed in more than half of the sites surveyed. We and our partners are continuing to work tirelessly to ensure dignified, safe shelter conditions, but in absence of the changes in the operating environment, the needs continue to outpace our ability to meet them. Since Saturday, our partners distributed education supplies to a dozen of temporary learning centers in Khan Yunis and parts of Rafah. These supplies will improve the quality of learning for tens of thousands of school-aged children, as well as support of their well-being and development. And we continue to follow with concern the ongoing situation in the occupied West Bank, including settler activity. Turning to the broader region, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that we, along with our partners, are continuing to monitor the rapidly evolving situation across the region, where hostilities are increasingly impacting civilians, humanitarian operations, and essential supply routes. Disruptions to airspace and transportation corridors continue to affect the movement of humanitarian supplies and personnel, as well as commercial goods. This puts supply chains at risk and could have broader implications for the availability of cost of essential food, fuel, and medical supplies. UNHCR, our refugee agency, tells us that about 100,000 people left Tehran in the first 2 days following the attacks. That's what local estimates are being given to them. More recently, figures are not yet available. However, the agency adds there's been so far no major increase in cross-border movements from Iran linked to recent events, but our colleagues at UNHCR and IOM are closely monitoring the situation at the various border points. Moving to Lebanon, where I think we've all been witnessing a spillover of the current regional conflict into that country, where bombardments in the south of the country and in southern suburbs of Beirut continue to impact civilians. Hezbollah, meanwhile, continues to claim air strikes into Israel. As of yesterday, the Lebanese Ministry of Public Health told us that 70 fatalities had occurred and over 435 injuries since the start of the escalation. Diplomatic efforts, including those by our special coordinator, Janine Hennis-Plaschert, and the UNIFIL Force Commander, General Abanyara, are continuing with the aim of de-escalating and mitigating further human suffering and displacement and urgently creating conditions for dialogue. As we've said, we welcome the decision by the government of Lebanon earlier this week to accelerate efforts towards asserting the state's monopoly of arms across Lebanon. It is crucial that Hezbollah fully respect that decision in line with Security Council Resolution 1701. At the same time, we reiterate once again our call on Israel to uphold Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity, also in accordance with Resolution 1701. The UN country team in Lebanon, meanwhile, is scaling up its humanitarian response as needs across the country soar. As you well know, a very alarming development in this conflict is the evacuation orders issued by Israel for the areas south of the Litani River yesterday and again today. Another Israeli evacuation order was issued today for the entire neighborhoods in the southern suburbs of Beirut, generating panic among residents who rushed to leave the area. According to the government, more than 95,000 people are sheltering in over 440 collective shelters, with 49 shelters still having some capacity to host additional people. Our partners working on food security have distributed more than 70,000 hot meals, reaching about 55,000 newly displaced people. They also distributed mattresses, sleeping mats, blankets, solar lamps, and jerry cans. Water, hygiene, and baby kits and menstrual kits were also shared with those who needed it. We reiterate that civilians and civilian infrastructure must be protected at all times in accordance with international law. De-escalation, safe humanitarian access, and functioning supply routes remain essential to ensure assistance can reach people affected across the region. As you've asked me yesterday about our peacekeepers in southern Lebanon, I can tell you that the UN peacekeeping force in Lebanon remains on the ground, and they're active. Our peacekeeping colleagues are actively carrying out their mandates. UNIFIL tells us that rocket fire towards Israel and airstrikes, artillery, and mortar shelling impacting several locations in the area of operations, coming from south to north as well. These include areas in Sector East as well as Sector West. Israeli Defense Forces units have been observed up to 2 kilometers inside Lebanese territory at several locations. Amid ongoing exchanges of fire, UNIFIL supported, in line with its protection of civilian mandate, the transportation of dozens of civilians to safety from several villages located in southern Lebanon. These people who've been transported to safety include children, older persons, and persons with disabilities. UNHCR also supporting displaced population and is preparing to scale up its assistance as needed. All civilians who are seeking safety must be allowed safe passage, whether within the country or across borders. And I think our friend Mr. Avni had raised the issue of, yes, wake up, Benny. You'd raised the issue of Yemen, and I can tell you that we are concerned, as we've been warning, that this recent military escalation in the Middle East could expand to the wider region. In that context, Hans Grunberg, our special envoy for Yemen, has been actively engaging with Yemeni regional and international actors, underscoring the need to protect Yemen from being dragged into yet another cycle of regional confrontation. In all his engagements, he reiterated that Yemen cannot afford to once again become an arena for regional escalation. At the same time, there remains a fragile but real opportunity to move forward with a comprehensive political process under UN auspices that would end the conflict and usher finally a just and sustainable peace for the Yemeni people. We remain fully committed to supporting the parties in reaching a political solution to the conflict. Preserving that path requires the parties to put the interests of the Yemeni people above all. Turning to Sudan, yet another humanitarian situation we cannot forget about. We're seeing an alarming escalation of violence in the Kordofan region, which continues to take a heavy toll on civilians and their communities. Intensified fighting there has killed and injured civilians, destroyed homes, hospitals, and other civilian infrastructure. Humanitarian access is also becoming increasingly restrained. In South Kordofan, confrontations between the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese armed forces have intensified in recent days. That is only further endangering the lives and well-being of civilians. Local humanitarian organizations have reported disruptions along key routes leading to the city of Dilling. Our humanitarian partners also tell us that a drone strike this week hit the Dilling General Hospital, killing at least 4 patients and injuring civilians. As if we need to remind the parties yet again that hospitals, health centers can never be targeted. Violence is also escalated in the town of Kadugli, resulting in a highly volatile security environment for communities and humanitarian responders. In North Kordofan, in the city of El Obeid, has faced continued drone attacks over the past 5 days, with strikes reported against a hospital as well as government sites. These attacks, occurring amid growing threats to critical infrastructure and supply routes, include the road between Kosti and El Obeid, raising serious concerns for both our humanitarian and the also critical commercial supply chain. Once again, we call on all parties to adhere to their obligations under international humanitarian law, which, as we've said, are not a secret. They are well known. They just need to be respected. And that includes the protection of civilians and civilian infrastructure and the facilitation of safe and sustained humanitarian access. Today is the International Day for Disarmament and Non-Proliferation Awareness. In his message for the day, the Secretary General said the threats of nuclear weapon is the highest in decades. Global tensions are pushing military spending to stratospheric levels. Small arms and light weapons are proliferating, and emerging technologies are making conflicts even deadlier. The Secretary General said it is time to invest in the architecture of peace and not the tools of war. That means living up to disarmament obligations, rebuilding trust, and strengthening the systems and tools that prevent proliferation, testing, and the use of deadly weapons. Speaking of deadly weapons, Edie, ask me a question.
Thank you, Steph. Has the United Nations pulled any of its staff out of Iran, Israel, or any of the countries in the region that have been targeted during this war?
We are constantly assessing the well-being of our colleagues, including in Iran. I don't have anything I can publicly share with you right now. In Lebanon, we've moved some people internally to ensure that both our international and national staff are safe.
And forgive me if you already said this, but has the Secretary General still been talking to leaders in the region?
Yeah, I mean, he met yesterday with the Saudi ambassador, and he's having a meeting, well, as of 3 minutes ago, with representatives of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Madame.
Thank you, Steph. Israeli Minister Smotrich this morning said that Beirut's Dahia district will soon look like Khan Yunis. I mean, no accountability has taken place for what happened in Gaza, and Lebanon has been under fire for the past more than a year. Any comments on this?
I mean, this kind of rhetoric makes us even more worried about the Lebanese people, right? Who've been in the crosshairs for far too long. There cannot be. We cannot see more bombings of civilians or civilian infrastructure.
And just one more question also on Lebanon. We saw the footage this morning of the massive exodus out of Dahia after the orders were issued. Do you have any numbers that you can share
Not
with
more
us?
than what I've shared with you now. And those numbers really are held by the Lebanese government. Ms. Fasulo, and then we'll move, and then Linda, we'll move down. Go ahead.
Thank you, Steph. Apropos of the Gulf states, about how much staff, UN staff, is present in the various states?
Oh, a few, quite, you know, it depends on the countries. I'll get you a breakdown. But, you know, for instance, in the UAE, we have a big humanitarian hub. We have quite a few colleagues there. In Saudi, we have colleagues in Qatar as well, Bahrain, and different places in the Gulf. But we'll get you a breakdown.
Thank you.
Pam.
Thanks, Steph. How worried is the Secretary General about global energy supplies being impeded by the attacks on the Gulf of Hormuz, and particularly in with regard to UN aid? Will the prices go up? I mean,
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, listen. It's. I think one can only take a look at the news and be very, very worried. And we all know if as soon as the price of energy, of oil, of fossil fuels go up, it has a direct impact on just about everything, including UN operations. And where this is happening in a world that is still, sadly, very much addicted to fossil fuels, and we live in an era where we live at the mercy of energy that is being extracted far from homes. If you live outside of the Gulf, which is creating all sorts of risks. So it's something he's very much aware of. Benny, then Ephraim.
Sorry. Speaking of Lebanon, so Britain just said, I think today or yesterday, that that missile that hit its base in Cyprus did not come from Iran. It didn't say where it came from. Since UNIFIL, one of his jobs is to count the missiles and rockets and sorties. Is there any information you can provide from UNIFIL about possible launch from Lebanon?
No, I mean,
Cyprus?
no information that I've been given. I mean, I think we've been reporting here the observations of UNIFIL of fires going from rocket fires from Hezbollah going from north to south, and Israeli rocket fire and IDF presence going from south to north. I have not been given or shared any information of them observing drones or rocket fire leaving Lebanon towards the Mediterranean within its area of operations.
So it missed that one. On the Gulf states, how concerned is the UN about civilians there? You know, they're...
I mean, we're very worried about
didn't mention it.
Well, we have been mentioning it. We're very worried about what we've seen as the expansion of the conflict. We've seen civilian casualties in almost all of the Gulf states at one point or another. Civilians are civilians wherever they are, and they need to be protected and never be targeted. Ephraim.
Thank you, Steph. A couple of follow-ups. Just a quick question on the numbers, just keeping tracks of the numbers. You said 70 people died in Lebanon. When were these numbers last updated? Because the health ministry is saying 102 people died. so far?
Those are numbers I was given today, so we'll try to.
Okay, thank you. And do you have any details from the meeting of the Secretary General with the Saudi ambassador and what he told him? And
It's it's along the same lines, expressing his own concern about the extensive the expansion of the conflict, his worry about the expansion of the conflict to the Gulf, including in Saudi Arabia.
And I think you mentioned yesterday he met with the Iranian PR. Was that yesterday? And I wonder, did he bring up Hezbollah and your message, which you just read
I mean,
today?
I gave you the readout that I shared with you yesterday on that meeting. Basula.
Steph, as you are aware, earlier today, the Nakhchivan region of Azerbaijan was subjected to drone attacks by the Islamic Republic of Iran. So the targets of these attacks were civilian airport and school. Azerbaijan and a number of countries in the region and beyond condemned these attacks as a serious violation of the UN Charter and international law. So in this regard, what's the reaction of the Secretary General on this very serious incident which caused damage to civilian infrastructure and injured civilians in Azerbaijan?
Well, we're obviously very worried about and concerned about the drone attack on Azeri territory. It's yet another example of another country in which this conflict is being expanded into. It is a clear violation of Azeri sovereignty, and again, we do not want to see any further escalation, and want to make sure international law is respected. Yes, please. Go ahead, Milou.
There have been different narratives and voices about the possibilities of the peace talk resume between Iran and the U.S. And we know that SG has been in contact with Alman's PR. Does the UN have any idea how possible is this peace talk
No, I
going to
mean,
be resumed?
we don't have any information to share at this moment. We would like to see the dialogue resume as quickly as possible to avoid any further killings of civilians. Okay. Yes, Madame Zina, go
Sorry
ahead.
for my late question.
No, it's okay.
As you are raising concern about the expansion of this war, and it's clear that it's expanding, okay? Is the United Nations ready for World War III?
Well, listen, we're not into hypotheticals. We don't want to see any more conflict. We want to see an end to this conflict. There will be, I think it is clear, and we're already seeing an increasing humanitarian need. Once this conflict ends, and it will end, the humanitarian needs will be even clearer, and it will require even more resources and more efforts. Thank you.